Okay, we are live. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, we should be getting some folks on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Grand rising on this beautiful Tuesday. I am your girl, Coach Brandi, and we're in the Dollar Growth Club this morning. Where we do all of our wellness coaching. We start with some yoga and meditation. We ease into, today we're going to focus on the intellectual wellness dimension. So actually I got a book, so we're going to start our book club today. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a jam. And then after that, we'll get into some functional movement training and some workouts. So this is our open enrollment, our week-long trial. So you get a preview of what it is that you will be doing if you were to join in with our Dollar Growth Club community. And if you're still wondering, how do I go about joining the Dollar Growth Club community, you can go to FitNewLife, FITNULIFE /Dollar Growth Club. And there are different options depending upon your level of commitment. You can do $1 for 1-day trial to actually be in the space with us in our Zoom calls, or you can do 14-day, you can do a monthly subscription if you're like, yep, I wanna be consistent with this practice. We will not always be streaming these things live, like as we're doing this week, my coaches and myself. So, take advantage of this for sure. And please do join our community because really it's here to benefit you. So for today's practice, you are going to need a yoga mat. So go ahead and get your yoga mat. You will also possibly need a block. So if you have a yoga foam block, then you might want to use that because we're going to be doing some balancing poses and some poses that are a little bit deeper. You might just want to have that kind of support when you do the balancing poses so that you can be successful in them. All right, this is a little bit more intense than what we did yesterday. Yesterday we did a very basic gentle yoga practice, and today is going to be going into some other things. So we want to be prepared for that. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and get started. And actually we'll get started just doing some yoga warm-ups. As you all know, we always start with yoga warm-ups before we go into our main practice. So today is no exception. We are going to be focusing on core. So for those of you who are really excited about doing core power and things like that and wanting to tone up, this is going to be the practice for you today. So I'm just gonna put my timer on and we'll start with our warm up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that going. I'm so excited that you guys are on and here with me today. I feel honored to have you all on. All right, so we got 45 minutes for this practice before we go into our meditation, and I got my timer going, and yeah, let's start. All right, so we're gonna actually start standing and we're just gonna go from head to toe. So we're gonna look up and look down. Remember, we wanna always connect our breath. So we're gonna inhale as we come through the center and exhale as we go down. Inhale, exhale, nice and slow. In our practice, we don't wanna force anything. So if you have any kind of pain or anything of the sort, any kind of degeneration in your cervical spine, you want to take it nice and easy. I myself have degenerative disc disease in my neck, and so you see I take it easy, right? Because each day is different. Let's go again, a couple more times. Deep breaths from the diaphragm. Okay, now we bring it back center. Now we're just gonna go side to side, same thing. Inhale when you get to the center, exhale when you get to the other direction. So side, center, side. How's everybody feeling today? You guys good? All right, and we're gonna go from our shoulder to the center to the other shoulder. So again, we're just working our neck here. You want to keep your shoulders nice and neutral, so you don't want them all the way up here. You want to keep them nice and relaxed. All right, let's get a nice little roll going here. All the way, just roll around. It should feel really good. We want to give the massage to the neck. Make sure that you continue to breathe deeply. Inhale, exhale. And go to the other side. There we go. Keep it going. Let's go one more. Excellent. All right, we're going to shrug the shoulders a little bit, shrug them up and down. So this time we give ourselves permission to be a little awkward. So all the way up to our ears, and then bring them down. We're just warming everything up. Today's focus for the practice is a little bit more on the athletic side of things, right? We're really focusing on warming up the body and working the body, right? So that we're strong in our core. We need our core for every single thing that we do. Let's take our arms, put them right here on our deltoids, our shoulders, and we're going to come in, open the chest, breathe in and out. Every time that we do our warm up, we want to make sure that we're warming up for the entire practice. So with the types of exercises that it makes sense. And for this, we're going to be using our whole body. So we want to make sure that we're all the way warmed up. Breathe in and exhale. Let's switch directions. Inhale, exhale. And with this, I'm warming up my entire chest area. Keep that nice low, deep breath. We're not having our chest is not rising in this. All right, and shake it out. All right, we're gonna open up our chest a little bit. So we're gonna have little daggers gonna go in front of us and opening up to the side, opening up our chest, and at the same time twisting our spine as we look behind us. So breathe in when we're right in the center, and then we're gonna exhale when we open up. And you can actually exhale with an open mouth if that feels good. Oh yeah, I like that one. Good. We'll do a couple more. Good. Let's get one more on the other side. All right. Bring your arms down, and we're going to shoot them up all the way nice and tall. And just lift, lift, lift as we pull up. And we're going to look behind our ear, just beyond our shoulder there, and bring it back to center. Lift up. And again, exhale. Bring it back in. Let's go 2 more times. Lift up. Nice. And one more time. Lift it nice and high. And all the way over. Good. All right. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. The arm is going to shoot straight up, nice and tall. Lift up. This is really important. You want to lift up, and as you lift up, pull, 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 pull. And exhale. Bring it in. Nice and tall. Already getting that core warmed up. Breathe in. Exhale. Two more times. Inhale. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen through the spine. Exhale. All right, and one more time. Up. Oh. Good. Now, hopefully, you should feel a little warm in the upper body. So now we're going to swing up. And as we swing up, we're going to lift back. So we're here. Pushing our booty back. We're right here. Like if we were going to do a chair pose, we talked about that yesterday. So we're just gonna warm it up. We should feel on the top of our legs, on our quads, should feel nice and like they're being engaged. All right, so let's go for it. We'll do inhale and exhale, release. Inhale. There we go. Feel yourself warming up. Let's do 4 more. And last one. Okay, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Nice, nice. All right, let's just do a little leg swing here. So for this one, we're gonna lift up to the front and we're gonna open up the hips to the side, right? So you can have your hands a number of ways. Some people like to have their hands kind of like here, right? So you can do this if this helps you with your balance. You can have your hands on your hips, but we're gonna go forward and out. So we're inhaling when we get to the neutral, inhale, and we have like our little choral, our choral position here for those of you who ever did choir or singing in the chorus. Breathe in, exhale. Our little yoga warm up here. All right, and switch. And if you feel like you need to hold on to something because that's like too much to balance, hold on to a wall, right? If that helps you at all, right? Don't feel like you need to, be here and be able to balance yourself, right? Because everybody is gonna work with where they are. So let's go here, breathe in, here at the other side. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Warming everything up. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, shake that out, shake that out, shake that out. Okay, how are we feeling? Feeling good? Feeling good? Hopefully. I feel nice and warm. We're just going to now warm up our calf muscles and our ankles. So we're gonna take our feet and actually let's start in our mountain pose. So we'll be here and we're just gonna come up and bring it back down. So you wanna be careful. You can lift the toes up, right? So you can see my toes are lifted and then come up. When you bring it back down, center yourself, lift the toes up. So that's gonna help us also engage the toes a little bit more, right? So lift them up, let's go up and bring it down. Exhale, as you come up, inhale, as you reset. And I want you to also remember, the diaphragmatic breath here, right, also helps us to warm up our core, which is really important for today because we're working on our core. The 2 more. And all right, now just to get our hamstrings, we're gonna go ahead and do a forward fold, and then we will go into our Surya Namaskar. Okay, so our sun salutations. So we're just gonna bend over and we're just gonna kind of hang there for a little bit. So bend over as far as you can. All right. And we're gonna breathe into our back. And actually you can grab onto your ankles or you can grab onto your toes here. And breathe into your back and exhale. Expanding the lungs. Feel them expand and release. Just a couple more breaths here. And last one. Good. All right. Okay. Excellent. All right, we're gonna go, let's actually roll all the way up. and get right into our sun salutations. So we actually have quite a bit of poses to go through today, and some of them are going to be new. So we're going to take our time because when we get first time doing them together. So we'll start with our sun salutations. You want to get somewhere on your mat where you have like room to go down. So a lot of people like to get this half of their mat. My mat is pretty long. I'm going to go to the center of my mat. So we're going to start. Let's bring it up. Come to your heart center. All right. We're going to bring it all the way back. Swan dive forward into our forward fold. Hands on the ground. We're going to take one leg, step it back. All right. And we're going to get into our low lunge. So you have options for your low lunge. You can either put your knee on the ground as you come up. You can have your knee off of the ground as you come up. You can take your arms, bring them up, or you can take your arms up from your moving up. And if your knee hurts you, right, you can take the edge of your mat, kind of roll it under your knee so that you have some support there. All right, so we're up. I'll take this choice here. Come back. Go ahead and go into plank position. We're gonna go knees, we're gonna go first, then bring our chest down, and now we finally bring our entire body down, going into cobra, all the way up into our downward facing dog. As we come up, one more up dog into that downward facing dog position. We're gonna take a couple of breaths here. Breathe in. And we'll take 3 more breaths. Sending those hips straight into the heavens, those heels on the ground. But we're going to look up to our hands. We're going to step one foot in front of the other. Come up, all the way up. Okay. Go ahead, bring it back to the heart center. Okay. And now we're going to try that same thing on the other side. Remember, you've got some options. So I want you to choose the option that makes sense for you. Let's bring it up. Now, when you think about connecting your breath, exhale. I'm going to bring the other leg down for me. That's my left. Inhale, exhale. Knees, then chest, and the whole body. Cobra into up dog, and then we go right into our downward facing dog. Take those toes underneath you, shoot those hips back. Breathe here for 6 breaths. Inhale. Go high on your tiptoes, bend the knees slightly. You can either step back in or you can hop in. Just come to a flat back, all the way down, lift all the way up. Bring it back into prayer pose. Okay, so this time, when we try this, we're gonna do this 2 more times. I want you to try to get your big toes to touch each other the whole time, right? So that we've got that connection there. And you also want to make sure that your toes are active in the ground, so they are working, right? At all times, everything in your body is working. Even when I'm extending up, my fingertips are working, radiating all of that energy through my fingertips. And so everything in these poses are active, okay? So let's do it again. This time, I'm not gonna talk really, I'll just guide you. We're gonna be breathing in, so inhale. With each pose, with each movement, you're going to be connecting your breath. Inhale. Exhale down. Good. Knees first, then chest, then up. Nice, you feel really good. Bring it all the way up. Step forward, this time we're coming all the way up here. Good, reach, bring it in, set the other leg together, all the way up and back to prayer. Okay, make that adjustment on the other side as well, come down. Try to feel the power of each pose. Come high on your tiptoes and step it forward. Up. Down, step the other foot in together and all the way up. Bring it back down to your heart center. By now, you should be feeling a surge of energy. If you're not sweating already, I don't know what to tell you. I am like drenched already. So we're gonna do that one more time, okay? So now we've done it, hopefully with your legs together, or you can take your stance where it's kind of like a fistful or two fistfuls in distance, parallel to each other with your feet. All right, so make your choice. And you're gonna go through this last sun salutation at your own pace. All right, so bring it up. Connect with the movements. We're gonna go a little faster than we have before. A couple more breaths here. Good. Enjoy your practice. And step it forward. Other leg together, up and back to the chest. Okay. Namaste, friends. Listen, I recognize the inner light in you, the beauty in you, the harmony in you. I want us to get to that place as we move forward with our practice today. Whew, okay. So we're actually going to start on the ground. So we're going to go down into a position. Make sure that you guys can see me with this camera. I think I need to adjust my camera here. Oh, do y'all see that sweat dripping? That's something else. All right, so we're gonna do the 6 breaths in our cat-cow. So as we inhale, we're going to go into our cat. So we are making sure that we are rounding the spine. And as we exhale, we're going to lift the chest and the sternum, lift our butt in the air, right? So I'm like this, just so you can see me. Okay, inhale, Sucking that navel in all the way to the ribs. And exhale. Inhale. And we're doing this for 4 more breaths. Breathe in. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And I want you to really push your fingertips down into the ground as you do this. Give me 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Good. To warm up our core a little bit more. All right. Okay, let's go into our plank pose. So we're gonna be in the plank. We're gonna utilize the plank a lot today. See, I am just sweating that today. All right, we're gonna be utilizing the plank position a lot today. So we're gonna start in our high plank pose. And actually, we're gonna do 3 different types of planks. So we'll have our high plank. We'll do our like midway planks, our chaturanga dandasana, and then we're gonna come all the way down into our forearm plank. So we'll go through that. We'll take 6 breaths in each one to really warm up our abdominals. Okay, so we're gonna shoot both legs back. We're gonna spread those fingers. We're gonna make sure that our spine is nice and long. And if you have a problem, like let's say that it's hard for you to get into the plank position, all right, we can go here and just hold it. The most important thing is that your hips need to be square, right? So I don't want any of like this, I don't want any of this, I don't want any of that. Like we don't want those shapes, right? So we want a nice plank. Our body is nice and even. We're engaging those deep core muscles and we're in that isometric hold. Okay, so we're in that hold for 6 breaths and then we'll move on. All right, y'all, let's get into it. So we're right here, our wrists and our elbows and our shoulders should be stacked one on top of the other. And actually, let me go this way so you guys can see better. So we're here, we want our pelvis in. Two more breaths. Good, and you can find your child's pose, okay? So let's come back in the child's pose, which is where we're sitting deep in our seat. We're stretching those arms in front of us. Okay, and this time we're gonna come to the halfway point. So if I'm going from the side, it's gonna stop like here. So I'm kind of like in that midway position. So we're gonna be there for 6 breaths together, all right? So let's go for that. Ready? Again, our body position really is important because we don't wanna have too much pressure on our wrists, okay? So again, if that's something that's difficult for you, then you wanna have one knee down and then you wanna come here, but you wanna keep our hip bones in alignment and we wanna make sure that we are squeezing the crap out of our core in that position. All right, so let's give that a try for 6 breaths. Halfway down. Good, relax. Woo, and come back into your child's pose. Hold it there for a second. Whew. Yeah, that was challenging. That was challenging, I'll admit it. All right, so let's just rest here for a little bit. And then we'll finally go into our forearm plank. And we'll do that for 6 breaths. Okay, y'all with me? You ready? All right, we're gonna go for it. Core power yoga today. All right, some of y'all have a lot of fun with this. So we're gonna come down into our forearm. So let's actually start here. Okay, so we're gonna start here in like the Sphinx pose. We're here. We're gonna take our big toes, curl them underneath the back, right? So I'm back here, and we're just gonna lift up right here and hold for 6 breaths. All right, knees down and come all the way up. How was that? Okay. All right, shake everything out. Shake everything out. I think that we are just about ready to move on. We're gonna do a couple of more things with the planks, and then we'll move on to our main asanas, okay? So we're gonna come into kind of like how we just did. We did a forearm plank. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that and we're gonna push our hips up and back as if we're gonna do a down dog, but this time instead of doing a downward dog facing pose, we're doing a dolphin pose. So we're gonna start just like we started before in this position, right? Our chest is up like a sphinx. All right, and then we're gonna curl our toes underneath and we're gonna send our hips back. Okay, in this position. So you might want to put your head down. If you have a block, you might even want to put your head so that it rests on the block here. Okay, and you're gonna want to hold this position for 6 breaths. All right, bring it back down. Now notice that for those of you that have a little bit more flexibility, right, you're gonna be able to get your hips even closer, up in the sky. So that's really what we're looking for. You wanna get your legs in as close as you can to your torso so that your hips are going straight up and your heels are on the ground. So those of you who don't have any flexibility issues, then I'm sure you'll be able to get into that with ease. For everybody else, we're gonna do the best that we can, right? And so it's okay if your heels don't hit the ground or if you can't get your butt all the way up, that's okay. We're gonna try that pose again. So again, you're gonna choose whether or not you're using a block or whether or not you are just using, your body in the mat. And we're gonna do it again. All right, let's try it again for 6 count. 6 counts is that for 6 breaths. All right, we're here, nice and tall. I'm gonna take our hips, shoot them up and back. And you're going to come up into this position. And hold it here. And if you can get your chest lower to the ground, that is also a huge plus. So as much as you can, you want to be in that position. All right, and come down. Down and roll it all the way up. Right, and see, either me, right? Like I'm still working on the pose to get it to where there's increased flexibility. That is why it is a practice. We practice daily to get deeper into these poses. All right, so we're gonna enter our side plank now. And for that, as I said, I promised you a plank series, so this is our plank series for that. Just getting warmed up. All right, we're gonna go to our side here. So I have my forearm down and my legs are extended and stacked. All right, I'm gonna put my hand on to my hip bone. So right here in your sit bones, and you're just going to lift up. Now you can also do this where you're gonna be staggering. So you can stagger your legs, right? and you can extend all the way up. That may be easier. If you want to do an extended side plank, you can go ahead and lift those arms up to the heavens, and it is your choice. Either way, we're gonna do 6 breaths on one side. We'll turn it over. We'll do 6 breaths to the other side. All right. All right, gang, let's get started. So we're here. Choose your poison with the side planks, and we lift up and breathe in. Another option is to have your back leg here and come down, right? So I gave you 3 different ways to attack that. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. But we don't need that until a little bit later, all right? So we'll do this other side, and then we'll move forward, all right? So last time, and I'm using these muscles on the inside, so I'm using my inner obliques to lift up and my hips to lift me all the way up, right? And so that can be very hard because you're like, what do I use to engage? But that's what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna think about your hips and your inner obliques. You're gonna constantly lift you up, 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 because otherwise you're gonna sink. All right, so let's go. Lift them up. Three more breaths. Last one. Good, and bring it back down. All right, so I don't know about you, but my torso, my ass, everything feels nice and alive. All right, and so we're gonna end with a pose that makes me happy. It's our happy baby pose, yay! So we're just gonna get to our back, right? So we're here in this supine position, and we're gonna take our feet, and we're just gonna open it all the way up. It's a funny view. Okay, so we're here, because it feels awkward. So we're here, and we're in our happy baby pose. So we're gonna go from side to side, just like this. So we're just rocking along our spine. And we did this 6 times, so we did it twice. This is 3 times. 4, 5, and 6. And now we're gonna come up, so we'll rock front to back. So we 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 more, 5, and 6. Okay, good. And last thing, before we get into our more difficult poses, we're gonna do our hollow hold into seated, just to warm up. We'll repeat something that looks similar to this when we do our boat pose. But for now, we're gonna go hollow hold to boat. So hollow hold here. But instead of going to our normal boat, right, which would be like here, we're gonna squeeze in. So we're gonna squeeze in and then open up. We'll do this 5 more times. So shoulder blades are off of the ground. Everything's off the ground. We squeeze in. 2, 3, and I'm looking down at my navel, right, when I'm in that hollow hold position. Lots of control. 4, 5, last one, 6. Okay, let's come to our butterfly pose. All right, and we are going to cross at the ankle and come all the way up to standing. Okay, all right, now we're doing our standing poses. Let me make sure that you can see me. Okay, all right. So we're just gonna do a couple of different standing poses. So I want us to do our trikonasana. So we'll do our triangle pose. We've got one foot that's in front and is facing the front, and one foot that's in back is kind of like 90 degrees to that, right? we're thinking about kind of like how it would be if we were in warrior two. And what we're gonna do is we're going to extend front. So the hip is pushing back. So you think about like somebody wants to pull you back with your hips. So somebody's pulling your hips back, that brings you back towards the back wall. At least for me, it does. That also sends my torso forward. So I'm here. And then when I can't go back anymore, I'm gonna just rotate so that I'm all the way here. Okay, now you have the option of using your block for this. So if that is like a hard pose for you to get into, or at least like to get your fingertips to touch the ground, then what you can do instead is you can be here, push back, pull back, right? Imagine somebody's pulling your hips back, you're here, you're here, and you're gonna grab one to your block to extend. Or you can bring your block down here if that helps. And let's hold it here for 6 breaths. Good. From here, we're gonna come up nice and steady, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. We're gonna bring that front knee forward, all right? And we're gonna bring an overhead bend, all right? So we've got that side angle, and we're gonna look past our shoulder. And again, you can hold on to your block for this one. And we're here for 6 breaths. You want to make sure that you're keeping your hips nice and square. Stay in one line, root down into the feet, into that ground. Good, and come all the way up, straighten that front leg, and bring it on back. Okay. Now we're gonna do our half moon pose from this position. So you might want to rearrange where your block is. If you're using your block, maybe put it in front, because guess what? We're gonna get off of the back leg. So we wanna set up just like we were in that triangle pose, right? We're extended, we're bringing it back. Everything from the first Trikonasana that we did is going to apply here. So you're here, you push, this hip comes back, it pulls back, it pulls back. That's what brings you forward. You're gonna grab onto that block if you're holding onto the block. Otherwise, you're gonna just grab onto your mat, right? And what we're gonna do is we're going to come up. And actually, it might be easier for you to start with your hand on your hip. So it might be easier for you to start with your hand on your hip. All right, we're gonna come up into a balancing pose. So nice and easy. And we're to the side. Once you have this together, you can extend. Good, bend the leg a little bit as you slowly come back into it, slowly straighten that leg. Woo. And let's try to go to the other side. Spiral it down. Before we do that, let's go into a vinyasa. Take a vinyasa real quick. Come all the way down, turn around, and bring it up into our upward dog and down dog. Come high on the legs. Bring it in and bring it all the way up. And we're gonna try it on the other side. So we're gonna step that left leg back. So same thing that we did on the right side, we're gonna do on the left side. Again, if you're using your block, go ahead and use your block. So we're here, we wanna get a 90-degree angle. We want that knee to be like in the middle of the foot that's in the back, right? So then we've got from here, so you can see, we've gotten this nice little connection here, right? Where we've got our hips open and everything is nice and where it needs to be in order for you not to injure yourself. So let's go here. Set up. Remember, it's kind of like how we're doing our warrior two, but this time we're doing our triangle pose. So we're here. We're gonna pull. Now we've got our left hip. Just pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. as you go forward. And if you're using the block, you're right here with it as you ascend. If not, then you are onto the floor. Stay here for 6 breaths. Legs stay straight. Good. Keep your legs straight as you come forward. Hips are still pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. And finally, center. We're gonna bend over that front leg. You wanna make sure that your knee's not passing up, all the way over your toes, because that's the wrong angle. We don't want that. And we're gonna just open up in this side angle stretch. If you need to hold on to your block, go ahead and do so. Hold on to that block. Looking past your arm. Two more breaths here. Keep your hips nice and square in one line. Good, come out of that and pull forward as you straighten your leg and bring it back to the center. All right, we're gonna try our half moon pose on this side. Same idea, right, as we are when we're doing our triangle, except we're gonna have that back leg is gonna lift off of the ground. So we wanna take your block, and for me, I like to have it in front of me because it helps me balance a little bit more. Don't be surprised if one side you're able to balance more than the other side. That's also totally normal. We want to be forgiving of ourselves in our practice. So don't sweat it, okay? And maybe sweat a little, but don't sweat it. All right, so we're here. We're gonna pull that hip back as we pull forward, right? So somebody's got your hips and somebody's got your hands. And you're bringing it here. Okay, now our hand that was extended is gonna come to our hip. All right, I'm gonna bend forward a little bit so I have a little bit of leverage as I start to lift that back leg, and I'm gonna look to the side wall. Good, bring it back. All right, and come all the way up. Woo, okay, good, we got that. We got that out of the way, so that was good for that sequence. We can put the block just a little bit to the side. All right, and for now, I guess the other part of the, I wanted to do a couple of harder ones. So I'm gonna show you just one that you can try, all right? And then we will move on to our meditation, okay? Does that sound good? All right, so the challenge pose for today, let me turn that timer off. Okay, so our challenge pose for today is going to be our crow pose, okay? So to get into the crow pose, and for this one, I really like it because one, it just looks badass, but we're gonna take a modified version of it in using the block. So it's one of the balance poses. Anytime that we use balance, you notice today with our core, we did a lot of balancing, right? Or these poses that required you to be off center, right? Anytime that happens, you have a little bit more core engagement. And so that's the focus of today. So this is a balance pose, and we're gonna do this one, and then maybe in future sessions that we have together in the community, I'll show you handstands or shoulder stands or something like that that's make you feel badass a little bit. All right, so for this one, we're gonna start in what's called a garland pose. This is kind of like how I like to be. Actually, you can start from Tadasana. So let's start from Tadasana. So we'll start here. This is our universal pose, right? This is where we start to get to any of our poses, our mountain pose. So we're here in Tadasana. Now, in order to come down into this position, right? I like to go into the guardian pose, which is like a deep squat. So we're gonna come here. For me, you notice that my feet are about as wide as the width of my mat. And I'm gonna come all the way down here, right? And I'm using the inside of my elbows to squeeze my inner thighs out, all right? And my sit bone is going straight down, so I'm here. Now, in order to do this pose, you're gonna take your hands, you're gonna put them onto the ground. And like I told you, we're gonna use the block because it's gonna help us be successful in this pose as a beginner balancing pose. And we're gonna take our hands and we're gonna bring them into the ground, okay? Making sure that your knees are basically they're resting on your triceps, all right? And I'm going to come forward and I'm gonna start to take my chest and bring it down to the ground. I wanna aim for my head to be on my block, right? So make sure that you all can see me. My head is going to be on my block. That's what I'm looking to happen. So I'm going to take my chest, bring it down, okay? And rest. Oops, okay. Maybe I need a lower block. Let me try this with the lower block, hold on. Because I want to get closer to the ground. So I'm gonna go and grab a lower block and then we'll try it again. So my block is right here. In our challenge pose is giving us challenges. All right. And I'm all the way sweaty. I feel like I went to a sauna. I'm sweaty back in. All right, so I have a lower block. Here in my garland pose. Gonna lean forward, 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 forward. And I'm gonna lift up. Okay, so that is how you get into that. And the entire time that I'm lifting up, I'm actually squeezing my core. I'm taking my hips, I'm sending them up, and my hands are gripped into the ground. My elbows and triceps are working because they're pushing out into my thighs in order to create that tension, right? Where nothing slips or anything like that. So we'll do it one more time. I'll do it this way so you can see. And then we'll go into our meditation. Guys, this has been an excellent practice for today. So let's go ahead and get this going. So we're here, we're gonna come on our tiptoes, right? As we lean ourselves forward, bringing the head down. And again, you wanna make sure that you're high on your arms. Maybe you're not as sweaty as me. Come down. Lift up. And bring it back. Okay, so that's like a modification for that crow pose if you want to try to start your way into that pose. All right, now let's put the blocks aside. So we'll put the yoga blocks aside and we'll come down and get ready for our meditation. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes for our meditation. I actually want to start you off with a breathing technique. Okay. So this is a Nodisharan technique. We're going to take our fingers like this, our ring finger, and our middle finger, bring it to your third eye. We've got one nostril, and I'm going to use my thumb to cover as I breathe in with the other nostril, okay? And then I'm going to take my ring finger, so I've got my index finger, I think I may have said that wrong, my index finger and my middle finger here. My ring finger is now going to block the nasal passage that I just exhaled out of. And I'm gonna switch like this, right? So from here, I inhale, I exhale. Inhale, exhale. And we're just gonna do a couple of clearing breaths here, and this is basically to energize our brain oxygen flow, energize our entire body, get our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous systems to communicate and to be alive, right? And this also gives us a better awakening and preparation for meditation. So, which we're going to get into in a little bit. So let's do this for 10 breaths, and then we will we'll move on to our meditation. Okay. How does that feel? How does that feel? That should feel really good. Should feel really, really, really good. I know I'm feeling alive. I'm feeling my prana being awakened, all of my aura, the energy both within me and without me, my chakras being aligned. I'm feeling all of that right now, and I'm hoping that you also are feeling the same. Because it's such a beautiful experience to be able to have this toolkit. This little tool in your toolbox, like, I can pull that out when I need to align myself. I can just go ahead and do that. And so now we are ready for a quick meditation. We're only going to do a 3-minute meditation. Today, actually, you know what? Let's do a 5-minute meditation. That's okay. We'll do a 5-minute meditation. We'll go a little bit over to do our 5-minute meditation. Okay, so let's go ahead, find a nice comfortable position for your meditation. You can even take your block, right? So here's a little something that you may or may not know. You can take your block and you can have a seat on your block if you want to, if that helps. Or if you feel comfortable, then you can also be elevated in your meditation. All right, find yourself in Chin Mudra. You've got our index finger and our thumb touching, palms facing up, and we're going to focus on our breath, right? This is a short meditation today. So we're just going to focus on our breath. I do want you to think about your intention for today. How is it that you want to carry this energy within your day? How do you want your day to be constructed? How do you want to feel within your day? And think about that I am statement that you can chant in your inner voice for your mantra for today. I am at peace. I am at peace. I am at peace. And now just say it to yourself, whatever that is for you. And I want you to focus all of that attention right in the center of your eyes in that third eye that we just used with our pranayama breathing. That is where your intention lives. Focus on that, focus on it wholly, focus on it completely. Nice tall spine. Confidence that whatever that I am statement is that you had, that is true and that it is already done. Repeat your mantra over and over and over again. Yes, this is true. Yes, it is already done. Yes, it is for you. Yes, you deserve it. Whatever it is, don't let any doubt come between you and the future that you deserve. Inhale and exhale. There is no moment but the present moment. It doesn't need to come in the future. It is already here. Slowly start to wiggle your toes. Start to bring your attention back to the room around you. Start to wiggle your fingers. Flutter your eyes open. All right, and we're going to go into our Shavasana. So when to extend your legs in front of you. Okay, if you need a bolster or anything that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, now you can go ahead and use that. Otherwise, we're gonna lie down and totally relax in our Shavasana. Thank you for practicing with me today. I want you to move forward with the energy that we were able to use with our core focused yoga asana practice today. Think about the functions of the core. Nothing happens without the core. We don't walk, we don't run, we don't crawl. Our life force is there, but we need to take care of it.
right? This is not about having a six-pack abs. This is about being balanced and centered, and we need to pay attention to the core strength in order for that to happen. Fully relax here. Back into the ground. Shoulders fully relaxed. Neck fully relaxed. Biceps and triceps fully relaxed. Fingers and toes relaxed. Calf muscles, ankles relaxed. Facial muscles relaxed. The whole body, from the toes all the way up to the crown of the head, fully and completely relaxed. I want you to once again take your focus to the world around you. I want you to open up your eyes when you're ready. Extend one arm back. We're going to roll over to our side. And slowly come up into a seated position.
All right, that is it for our yoga and our yoga asana and meditation practice. Namaste. So now, all right, for those of you who are with us on Instagram, and for those of you with us on YouTube, and for those of you in our community, thank you so much. Again, if you have not already gone ahead and joined the Dollar Growth Club, I want you to do it right now. What are you waiting for? We only have this 1 week where we're doing this open enrollment, and we're giving you guys that free taste for what it will look like. So why don't you go ahead, put your mat and everything away. If you're staying with us for the book club, then go ahead, because today we are focusing on our intellectual wellness dimension for our wellness coaching sessions, our 8-dimensional wellness coaching sessions. So yesterday we focused on physical wellness. Today we're focusing on our intellectual wellness. And so take a moment, get your things together, grab a seat, and get ready to embark upon a whole intellectual wellness journey with me as we talk about the book that we're going to be exploring for this month, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and exit off of the live on Instagram, and I'm just gonna close my screen really quickly to make sure that everybody has a chance to get acclimated on YouTube, and we will be right back. So on Instagram, if you're gonna come back, then just, look for the pop-up in about a couple of minutes or so, we'll be back on. All right, so thank you everybody for joining again for our yoga, asana and meditation practice this morning. Have a great, wonderful, abundant day. Woo. All right, y'all. So we are back. We are back with the Dollar Growth Club. Sorry, I'm just rearranging some stuff here. Okay. I think I'm almost good. Just trying to make sure that the folks on Instagram are all set up. I have the right angle because I don't want to be in the wrong angles for things. Okay. All right. So today, I'm just gonna stall a little bit longer while I try to get everything situated. But today we're going to be doing a jump off to the brain that changes itself. And so that is the book that we're going to be looking at for this this month, The Brain That Changes Itself. And so this is by Norman Doge, who's a medical doctor. The Brain That Changes Itself, Stories of Personal Triumph from the Frontiers of Brain Science. All right. And so I want to talk a little bit about like the reason why I wanted to even go into this particular book. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we tend to think about the limitations of our brains, right? There was a school of thought before that really focused on this brain that was concrete. It was not pliable, you know, it didn't necessarily change. And so now we think about the plastic brain, you know, versus one that's a little bit more rigid. Like, what does that mean to have some neuroplasticity in your brain? In other words, what does it mean to be able to say that you can change the actual brain itself, right? And create these neurological networks. Now, in plain old English, right? What this means for us is that we can have some authority to how our brain functions, how we learn knowledge, how we even start to attract things to come to us, how we start to engage with our health and having these conversations, that we can have this brain focus, right? And so in this book that we're going to be reading for the book club, Norman goes into all of that, right? Goes into all of that. And so I just want to give a little overview of it. Because I have read this book, and so I'll be reading this book again with you. And that is going to be a treat because there were some things that quite literally were in here. There's a lot of case studies and things like that. You know, these crazy situations where you would think like, no, there's no way that if somebody had this kind of brain injury that they would be able to ever walk again, or they would be able to ever hear again or see again. And through the use of some of these technologies, they were able to make these new connections, right? And so therefore proving the plasticity of our brain. So I want to read a little bit of some kind of like Cliff Notes. I remember Cliff Notes back in the days, a little bit of Cliff Notes, right? And so in our book club, like when you join the community, you'll be able to actually be here on the Zoom with me, and we'll be able to have a conversation like, oh yeah, I learned this and I learned that, and oh my God, that struck me in this way, and this is how I'm able to use this to change my life. But since we're doing the open enrollment and just the trial week for this week, you know, you're not going to be able to be on with me, but that's the benefit of joining the Dollar Growth Club community, is that we'll be able to have these conversations and see how does knowing this information then change the way that you think about your life, right? How does it change your limited beliefs? Because the truth of the matter is that we are limitless beings, right? And so whatever we have in our imaginations, we actually can achieve that. If we can imagine it, we can achieve it in one way or the other. Whether or not that's, achieving it purely or with the use of some kind of a technology. So I'm reading out of 4minutebooks.com on this because I just thought this was such a good overview of the book. So it says, your brain is amazing. At first sight, that gray, wrinkly blob might not look like much, but it's responsible for everything you know and love about being human. It contains your memories, brings emotions and sensations, controls movements, and allows you to think and make decisions. We are now learning more about neuroplasticity, or the brain's ability to change. And remember, this is a sidebar, but remember that it had been common thought that your brain, once it developed, that it couldn't change, right? Like you could not make new pathways or connections in your brains. You couldn't do any of that stuff. It's like, it's kind of like, you know, that old adage, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's kind of like that, right? Like, no, after a certain time, you can't learn anything new. And as we start to have aging brains, right? This is really important to us. Or if we have addictions or anything like that, right, that we're like trying to get through, it's important to understand that you can actually change the way that your brain is interacting. So you can get over that addiction. You can get over, you know, some of these neurological diseases that you may be suffering with, right? Like there is something that can help make that a little bit more tolerable to you. So all of that is a little sidebar from that. Previously, he goes on to say, previously scientists thought of the brain as fixed when fully formed, then deteriorated as we age, right? So this was the thought beforehand, okay? But with the rise of neuroplasticity, we now know our brains can heal themselves from injury, change from experience, and regenerate even into old age. Now, this is really important to understand, because I think that a lot of times we tend to think things like, oh, you know, when I get older, right, think about how many people have Alzheimer's or dementia or things like that. It's not a normal part of aging, and we don't necessarily think of that. We're just like, oh, you know, it might happen, it might not happen. Yeah, and we get nervous about it because the older that you get, you know, you have a high likelihood of getting some of these diseases, but a lot of these things are preventable. And so we want to be thinking about, like, what does that mean? As we start to develop new habits, right? And as we start to develop new behaviors that are going to help push you into a pathway of achieving your life mastery, of achieving your balance and your inner peace in our 8 dimensions of wellness, right? As you start to move through that, you're going to have to start thinking differently. You're going to have to start doing something differently. And so this is the way that we can give ourselves confidence that this can happen. So there are 3 points, 3 main points that the person that wrote this article on 4-Minute Books have pointed out. And so I agree. I think we should talk about them, right? Because it's something to get excited for. We're going to read this book together, but it's something to get excited for, these 3 pieces of information. So the first piece of information is that your brain has an incredible talent of changing itself as needed through processes like unmasking, right? And so there was an example in the book of a woman who was having some issues, right? Her name was Cheryl Schultz. Okay, so Cheryl Schultz had focused with balance, okay? And the reason why she had focused with balance is because she lost the part of her brain that was responsible for balance, basically. And so there was a pioneer, Paul Bach-y-Rita, who essentially was doing some studies and had a device that could help with this. And essentially what this device did is it sent signals from an electrode on her tongue, right? And that electrode was able to stimulate an area of
the woman's brain that was responsible for balance that couldn't be previously accessed. So essentially they created a new pathway of understanding of communication, right, for the brain's communication, and it worked. And so after doing that, like training on this device consistently, eventually this woman was able to regain her balance, even though previously she had had damage to this portion of her brain. And they were able to make this new pathway with the help of this technology. But the question is, do we always need these technologies in order to make new pathways? And the answer, I would argue, is no, because your brain is always changing. So how do we tap into that in order to expand upon your brain health and your intellectual wellness and well-being? So that goes into the second major lesson here, is that we can change our brains with just our imagination. Now, I know that's gonna make some people uncomfortable, like, okay, listen, I don't know about that, like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is something that comes in. And again, starting off with this book, because this is science, right? This is not like, we're not just making stuff up. This is science. And I think that unless you know that this is a possibility, we tend to just stand with the fixed brain mindset. And it's important for us to know in this community, you know, in my community, the Fit New Life community, whether or not you are with the Dollar Growth Club or with the Total Transformation Program, or whether or not you're a personal training client or personal health coaching client of mine, it's important for you to understand that you do not have limits if your imagination can help bring about some of these changes. So just imagining, he says, what we want can make physical changes in the brain and body. An example of this is patients who experience phantom pain. This is when the phenomenon where people who lose a limb experience pain that seems to come from the limb that doesn't exist anymore. We've all heard of this before. And this was once considered a psychological problem, but now we know it's a nervous system problem, which means that this is stemming from you know, our brain and our nerves, like sending the pain somewhere. So the theory for why pain still happens in the brain map is that the missing limb is eager for input and sends growth factors to nearby neurons. With this theory, neuroplasticity research vs. Ramachandran, I might be messing that name up completely, but no disrespect, but the researcher created a mirror box that showed the mirror image of the working limb, so the brain would think the missing limb was moving and responding to the input. Okay, so in this way they could unlearn the phantom pain, and it worked, right? Again, this is another experiment that worked, and this is how we know that after doing this kind of, and then this is another case of practice makes perfect, right? Because or practice makes better, not necessarily perfect, but it makes better, right? In this case, they were doing it like 10 minutes a day, just practicing with that mirror box. And after 4 weeks, the pain had completely disappeared. Right. So when we talk about like our visualizations and things like that, this is what we're doing. We're practicing for the kind of life that we want. We're practicing for the situations that we want. We're practicing for the things that we want to attract. And we start thinking in that mindset. It's not necessarily the same as like getting rid of a neurological phantom pain, but we can use this as a framework to understand what we need to do in our mind in order to move forward in getting the kind of life that we want to have, right? The kind of life experience that you want to have. And it all starts in the mind. Intellectually, learning about all of these things, right, is going to be a little bit crazy in and of itself, because you have to challenge yourself to think outside of the box. And that is what neurological growth is about: thinking outside of the box, learning new things, and then being able to apply those things, having practical applications for the things that you learn. And again, right, I'm bringing this book up again because in your homework, you got to go and cop the book. You have to go and cop the book so that we can talk about it in our community, that we can talk about it in the Dollar Growth Club once you joined, if you have not already joined. So the last lesson that I'm going to leave you with for this that comes out of this book, The Brain That Changes Itself, Norman Doidge, okay, is that your libido and sexual preferences are plastic and can change with experience. Now, this is important and it's a little provocative, right? It's a little provocative, but here is what, bear with me, here's what they have to say about this. Brain plasticity doesn't just help us improve and recover lost skills, it also changes our sex drive. Okay, the hypothalamus, which controls instinctive behaviors like sex, is plastic, meaning that our sexual inclinations can change. The sexual and romantic inclinations we learn in our critical age become wired and continue to impact us for our whole lives, but we can continue to learn and change sexual preferences later in life. Okay, so that's important. I think it's an important conversation that links into some other conversations that we're going to have in other Dollar Growth Club meetings, specifically when I'm thinking about when we get to the topic in our physical wellness about sexual health, right? How we think about sex, how we think in general, right? Like how that can start to impact our sex drive. So anyway, I don't know if you're as excited as I am about this particular book, but I'm very excited to dive into it because I think that our mindset on these things, even as, you know, he talks about, we talked about imagination, right? For us, that can translate easily into things like positive thinking, right? Like all of that, not fantasy or any of that, but like really using our imagination to harness the power of our positive thought and to harness the power of the law of attraction, right? So linking all of those different things in order to create an expansive conscious that that really gives us the experience that we're looking for. And so this is the book. What's your homework? Okay. Your homework is to go and purchase this. You can get this for very cheap online. If you just Google it, then you can get this as an ebook, right? You can get it as an audiobook if that helps, right? But the important thing is that you get the book, we can sit down, we can talk about it, we can figure out and cross-reference how these experiences and these case studies, how they apply to yourself, how they apply to people that you know, or different experiences that you maybe even have had, right? And then we can go and move forward with that and be better. Okay, so each month, about once a month, we'll be switching the books that we read. And so this is the first book that we're going to read in our book club. All right. So that being said, those of you who are staying on for our workout, all right, we're going to be doing a workout in a little bit. And for those of you who are doing that, we're going to do a full body workout. So you're going to want to grab weights. If you have weights, they don't have to be heavy weights or anything like that, but they can be 5-pound weights all the way up until 15-pound weights, depending upon your level of strength. We're going to do full body. Grab your exercise mat and get some water. All right, we'll be back at around, let's do about a 3-minute break or 5-minute break or something like that. And yeah, and we'll get started. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Don't forget to get the book. You've got to get the book, The Brain That Changes Itself, Stories of Personal Triumph from the Frontiers of Brain Science. And on the front of this edition, it says, the power of positive thinking finally gained scientific credibility, mind-bending, miracle-making, reality-busting stuff. Straddles the gap between science and self-help, the New York Times. All right, so this is the magic that we're about to get into, and I am so excited. All right, so go ahead and grab your things. If you are grabbing your stuff for the workout, we'll do about a quick 15-minute workout. All right, that's it. We're not going to do anything exhaustive today just because of the way that our time flow. But we're going to have a good time. All right, so go ahead and get your things and we will be back in just a little bit.
All right, we are back. We are back, and we are going to do our last session. All right, so we got 15 minutes exactly to get a total body workout in. So you see, I put on my shoes. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna move through all the different movement patterns, starting with our curl. So we're gonna lift one of the dumbbells at a time. All we're gonna need is a set of 10-pound weights. All right, so we're here. I don't even know what number I'm on here, but I know I'm gonna try to do it for a full minute. All right, and so while we're doing this, we're just alternating these curls as we're pulling these things into our body. Yep, and we're gonna squeeze the bicep at the top. We're getting right into it. All right, and after this, I think 20 will be our magic number. All right, so let's just do a couple more, because like I said, I started and I'm like, I have no idea what count I'm on, but it's all right. Okay, so from here, we're gonna go and do our press. So we'll bring them up and we're just gonna do our push press. So we're gonna kind of bend slightly at the knees, bring it all the way up to the top, 2 till we get to 20. 4, 5, 6, 7. You guys should be all the way warmed up. 10 more, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, put that down to your side, and we're gonna go back into a reverse lunge. So we're gonna go back into a reverse lunge. 2, and each time it's gonna count as 1. 4, going all the way until we get to our 20. 8. Good, and now we're gonna do 10 more. Woo. Oh yeah, feeling that burn, baby burn. Oh snap. Bring it back, bring it back. Give me one more on each side. All right, good. Put that down to the side. And actually, let me give you an option for our squats. So if you want to, we can do a sit to stand. So I'm gonna grab my chair here. All right, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a seat and we're gonna stand all the way up. Actually, let me move my chair here. I think that's a little bit better. So that way I'm not ruining my mat. All right, we're gonna take our weights. And we're just gonna bring it to the side of our body. That's it. And we're just gonna have a seat and stand all the way up. So that's it. Have a seat